I moved into the new house my parents had just bought for me, excited and eager for a fresh start near my school. It was a quaint 2-story home with a charming white picket fence and a lovely garden. At first glance, it seemed like the perfect place for a student like me. Little did I know the horrors that awaited me inside. The first few days were relatively uneventful. I was busy unpacking and settling in, trying to make the place feel like my own. But as the nights rolled in, I began to notice something strange. Every night, as I lay in bed, I could hear faint whispers echoing through the house. At first, I dismissed them as my imagination playing tricks on me, but they grew louder and more distinct with each passing night. One evening, as I was studying in my room, I heard the whispers again, this time coming from the hallway just outside my door. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The voices were hushed, almost like a conversation, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. It was as if they were speaking in language I couldn't understand. I cautiously got up and tiptoed to the hallway. The voices seemed to be coming from the old, dusty attic door at the end of the corridor. I didn't remember seeing that door before, but there it was, beckoning me to investigate. With trembling hands, I pushed the attic door open, and a chilling gust of wind rushed out, extinguishing the candle I brought with me. Darkness enveloped me as I climbed the creaky stairs, guided only by the eerie whispers that grew louder with each step. As I reached the top, I found myself in a vast, dimly lit attic. My candle flickered, casting eerie shadows on the dusty, forgotten relics that littered the space. But what truly sent shivers down my spine was what stood in the center of the room. An old, tattered Ouija board. I had never seen one in person before, but I knew its sinister reputation. The whispers in the attic grew more urgent, more demanding. They seemed to be coming from the Ouija board itself. In a trance-like state, I reached out and placed my trembling fingers on the planchette. The moment I did, the whispers turned into guttural, otherworldly chants. The planchette began to move, spelling out words that made my blood run cold. It told me of the house's dark history, of the restless spirits that dwelled within its walls, and of the malevolent force that had lured me here. I panicked, trying to pull my hands away from the board, but they were glued to it as if by some unseen force. The chants grew louder and more sinister, and I realized I'd unwittingly unleashed a terrible evil that threatened to consume me. Desperate and terrified, I called out to my parents, but my voice was drowned out by the cacophony of voices in the attic. I was trapped, bound to the Ouija board, and at the mercy of forces beyond my comprehension. My new house, which had once seemed like a haven, had become a nightmare. And as I sat there, helpless and alone, I couldn't help but wonder if I would ever escape the horrors that had taken hold of my life.
My heart raced with excitement as I unlocked the front door to our new house at 13 Maple Street. It was a simple, typical house in the heart of the city, with a quaint charm that had drawn us on. My wife, Dana, and I had been dreaming of this moment for years, saving up to escape the cramped apartment life. But little did we know, our dream home would soon become a nightmare. The day we moved in was bright and sunny, the sky painted in shades of blue and fluffy clouds. It was a perfect day to start our new life, or so we thought. The house seemed to greet us warmly, with sunlight streaming through the windows, casting dancing patterns on the wooden floor. The first few weeks went by without incident. We settled in, decorated the rooms to our liking, and began to make friends with our new neighbors. Everything seemed perfect until one fateful night. It was around midnight when I heard it for the first time. A faint, eerie whisper. I couldn't make out the words, but the voice seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. I brushed it off, thinking it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But the whispers persisted, growing louder and more insistent with each passing night. Dana claimed she didn't hear them, but I knew I wasn't going crazy. I tried to record the whispers, but they always seemed to vanish as soon as I grabbed my phone. As the days turned into weeks, our once happy home began to change. Objects moved on their own, footsteps echoed in empty rooms, and shadows danced in the corners of our vision. I started seeing glimpses of figures that were not there when I looked closer. One night, as I lay in bed, the whispers grew into a cacophony of voices, all speaking at once. I could hear their words clearly now, but they were in a language I couldn't understand. Fear gnawed at my sanity as I realized that these voices were not of this world. Desperate for answers, I researched the history of our house. I discovered that it had been built on the site of an old cemetery that had been relocated to make way for the city's expansion. The land was tainted with a dark past, and it seemed that the restless spirits were now trapped within our walls. I confided in Dana, and she finally began to experience the strange occurrences herself. Together, we reached out to paranormal investigators, priests, and mediums, all of whom were baffled by the malevolent force that had taken hold of our home. Night after night, we endured the relentless torment of the spirits, unable to escape their wrath. Our once happy life had become a living nightmare, and our dream home had turned into a haunted prison. As I stand here now, in the dimly lit living room of 13 Maple Street, I can still hear the whispers. They echo through the walls, a constant reminder of the horror that has become our life. We're trapped in a nightmare of our own making, and there is no escape from the malevolent spirits that now call this house their home.
I'm Emily, a recent college graduate who had just landed her first job in a charming little town. The excitement of starting my career was dampened only by the ominous-looking house. From the moment I moved in, I knew something was terribly wrong. It all began on a chilly October evening. I had just finished unpacking my meager belongings when I heard the first strange noise. It was a faint whisper that seemed to come from the walls themselves. I dismissed it as my imagination running wild. As days turned into weeks, the inexplicable occurrences escalated. Each night, I would hear footsteps echoing in the hallway, but when I'd investigate, no one was there. Lights flickered relentlessly, casting eerie shadows on the peeling wallpaper. I grew convinced that Hollow Brook House was hiding something sinister. One evening, as I was working late in my dimly lit study, I heard a child's laughter echoing through the house. I had no neighbors with children, and it was well past midnight. Fear washed over me as I followed the sound, leading me to the attic door. Reluctantly, I climbed the creaking stairs to the attic. The air grew colder with each step, and the laughter grew louder. When I reached the attic door, it burst open, revealing an unsettling sight. There, in the dim light, I saw the ghostly figures of children playing with old toys, their eyes hollow and vacant. I stumbled back in shock and slammed the attic door shut. The next day, I did some research on Hollow Brook House's history. It turned out that the house had a dark past. Decades ago, it had been an orphanage, and a fire had claimed the lives of several children. The laughter I heard must have been the echoes of those innocent souls trapped in the house. Determined to find answers, I sought the help of a local historian. He confirmed the tragic history of Hollow Brook House and told me about a ritual that might help the restless spirits move on. Desperate to end the torment, I followed his instructions. On a moonless night, I lit candles in the attic, placing them around the old toys. I chanted the incantation the historian had given me, pleading for the children's souls to find peace. As I did, the temperature dropped, and I felt a chilling presence in the room. Then, in a sudden burst of light, the spirits appeared before me, their faces no longer tormented but serene. The children thanked me with a chorus of whispers, their voices fading as they ascended, disappearing into the unknown. Since that night, Hollow Brook House has been eerily quiet. No more footsteps, no more laughter. I can finally sleep in peace. But I can't help but wonder if the spirits truly found their way to the afterlife, or if they merely retreated into the shadows, waiting for another unsuspecting soul to move into the haunted Hollow Brook House.